just got his master's at UCLA. Same kind of system helping him out. So the debate over who can learn and who can't is ended. It's ended. And we've got to participate in that. And you have to be present. Your presence here today is important. You have to pursue members of Congress and Senate to support this legislation. This is not a heavy lift for this Congress, for this nation. But it's a beginning. And hopefully with the success that we see. And you've got to then take the next step. That when you go home, you've got to insist that the members of Congress come see your successes, come see your vision, come see the potential that can be enabled by a comprehensive policy of professional development, of parental engagement, of having the use of all types of devices. This isn't an argument of iPads versus laptops versus phones. Bring them all. I was in San Diego. I was down at the, where the hell was I? And I visited a school, and I watched the 7th grade literature class as they finished reading their short stories. They were writing their critiques, and they had to share their critiques with one or more students in their class. And they were engaging in, I love this, we should do this in Congress, kind, constructive criticism. It's light years away from where we are. But the fact of the matter was, you could see how the students were having to re-engage with that short story because of the questions that were raised by their peer in that classroom. And you could see them swapping back and forth and watching how they played out their answers to the criticism or returning to the source and developing a different answer or agreeing with it and saying, I read it wrong, or I didn't realize that. And see that kind of collaboration, that sharing. Technology allows that to happen all of the time, 24/7. Technology allows these students to become makers, to work with students wherever they are, wherever their interests coincide. It allows the collaboration of teachers beyond anything we've seen before. We won't be stuck in the old idea, well, No Child Left Behind only tests math and reading, so we're only going to teach math and reading. No, you can engage them all, and they can learn them all at the same time. And that's the promise, that's the ability. But it's really about grassroots lobbying members of Congress. Yes, we asked for $500 million, but we asked this in the name of a national priority. We can lament that we don't do as well as Finland, Singapore, and out on Pisa. But the fact of the matter is, these nations are starting to accelerate away from us in some instances. And we have to understand that we have to get back in the game on a national basis. So there's no excuses. And if we have good professional development, if we have good engagement in the community, if we have the properly resourced, then we have the opportunity to bring this promise there. And I go back to the word opportunity. For me, I've been so proud to be part of a federal effort that is about the idea of equity in education, the idea of equity of opportunity, and hopefully the idea of the equitable opportunity to participate in the American democracy, in the American economy. And that's the exciting part for me, when I see those students who are able to do that. And we couldn't go away. You know, I was thinking earlier this morning in a discussion. I've read more commissions, blue ribbon commissions, yellow ribbon commissions, and task forces, and presidential commissions, and governor's commissions. And almost all of them started and they say if a student from the 1900s walked into a classroom today, they'd feel perfectly comfortable because it's built on the agrarian calendar, because the students have to work on the farms. Really? San Francisco Bay Area? I did, but my children. And it's on the industrial model. It's 45 students lined up in neat rows, and somebody talks to them for 45 minutes, a professor, because it carries over to the college. That's all interesting. Stop writing the introductions to the reports with that, because none of that is necessary today. None of that is necessary. And we see it happening now, but we don't see it happening in enough places. We don't see it in a coherent fashion, and we don't see it giving the gift to educators to be able to now meet the demands that the community and the nation put on them. That's the liberation of technology. When I go into schools where it's available and I see time made available for teachers to collaborate and think about tomorrow's lesson and share their ideas of how it might be taught, or talk about what they've imported from somebody who's doing the same kind of work in Eureka, California, or in Springfield, Illinois. Now we've got a process working here. We have a process. And for these kids who create, content all day long, some of it objectionable, some of it incredibly creative, and some of it mystifying. But they create content all day long. And they should be able to share that and help one another. Share their strengths and erase their weaknesses. And that's the promise of this legislation. It's a beginning. But if we don't make this beginning step, then we won't make the next one. And we'll all talk about when we were pulling wire back in 1997 or whatever. And the fact of the matter is, this isn't about devices. This is about having access to the planet on behalf of your students, on behalf of your community. And you've got to go out and sell this. I'm working my tail off to sell it here in Washington, D.C., one by one. But I need that reinforcement. They have to hear about it. They have to understand and support it by local educational entities, be they parents, teachers, professionals, administrators, what have you. And then we have success. And I beg of you to do one thing. When that member of Congress says, well, yeah, I'll get to that win. Well, I know, I'll do that next month. When next month? We're the best fun batters in the world. You're their constituent. You want them to come see something about their district that has a huge importance on the children in their district and the families and the economy of their district and even home prices. When are you going to come see what I want you to see? That's the answer to the question. And that's what we need to do. That's how people successfully lobby members of Congress. Don't let us come up for air. It's very, very important. And I think we can have success. And that you'll be able to take all of your talents and polish them, make them shine on behalf of these kids, and they're going to feel better, and their parents are going to feel better. What the hell's better than all of that, huh? All from Congressman George Miller. All from your hard work. Because you're the one that has been out there on the point, writing this point, not always with cooperation of the district, not always with the cooperation of the state, not always with the understanding of the parents, or even your fellow faculty members. But you've been out there breaking the path. Now it's time for us to fill it in, because what you've shown us is a way that truly we can achieve the American dream for millions of children that aren't getting a shot at it under the current system. And I can't have the next generation of Congress people come here and look back to Brown v. Board of Education, to look back to No Child Left Behind, and think that what we haven't done is we still haven't closed those gaps. We still haven't allowed these children to realize their potential. We still aren't benefiting from our entire communities. And that's our challenge. But we gotta break this lethargy that's just hanging around Washington on this subject. It's the most important thing that we can do in terms of the quality of education and empowering teachers to help create that learning environment, to be able to design with the knowledge of his or her class, their needs, to be able to design, to be the architect of how learning is going to take place and to have the resources available to carry it out. Thank you so very much. I look forward to your help. I look more forward to the reports from you on the members of Congress and the Senate that are supporting this legislation, and make sure they come visit your programs in the district. I do it. Every member of Congress should do it. Thank you so very, very much.
Congressman Miller has said he's got a couple of moments for questions if folks have any.
Class clown. George is a nice kid, but he's such a class clown. 7 years in a row. Go ahead. Questions?
Mark?
Don't feel shy, I got all the answers.
Congressman, thanks for being here. So there's a lot of question about whether we need to target funding to technology or whether technology is part of all programs. How do we make the case to other other members that a dedicated program is necessary in this age of flexibility?
I think we have to make the same argument that almost any successful business enterprise would make today, that this field is changing all of the time, and that we have to be prepared to take advantage of those changes. We pulled wire all through the schools, and we didn't know anything about wireless, and the wire almost became obsolete in a quick moment. And we had computer labs, and we marched children back and forth, limited time, and all the rest of that, and now we know that that's not necessary. We know that the policy saying that you can't have that phone in school was interesting, and now the question is that phone smart enough so you can participate and take it home with you and share it with your parents and do all the rest. So I think this really is about making sure that let's take the schools and the districts where we find them now. As I said, and let's fill in all the gaps, and let's have them ready to go. And we'll see what the next iteration is. We don't know what's coming at us, as a result of Common Core, how the publishers are going to step in or not step in. What are the pricing mechanisms going to be? What's the future of these efforts on open sourcing and the states getting together to use the best of the higher education institutions, the best of the K-12 system, and develop curriculum that fits the needs of that state, that region, or what have you. So there's a lot yet we don't know the answers to. But we know if we don't have the right connectivity, if we don't have access to those devices, and we don't have the kind of training that's in place so staff can stay current, again, just as any high-performance enterprise would do today, that's what we have to insist. We keep saying we want high-performance enterprises on behalf of the public school system in this country, where there's huge barriers now. Some people say, well, that's just an excuse. No, that's a fact in some districts. We simply don't have access. So what even, so we have to get over that. And, again, I don't know if additional resources can be brought through modernizing the E-rate. Go there. If this is the better answer, go here. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to get a sustainable source of resources to help you build out the system so we get the most advantage of it as a nation. It ain't complicated at this stage, because we all witness, the potential here, and we can lament as we lamented a crumbling school for many, many years of those who don't have access, or we can cure the problem now. Yes?
Thank you for being here. One of my questions is, how do we argue effectively? What's the most powerful argument we can use, not just to pass the bill, but to fund it?
You're going to get the opportunity to deliver to members of Congress good news. And members of Congress, oh God, do we crave good news. Say to your staff, any good news today? We deal with people that, my son's in the Army, he made a mistake, he meant to be in the Navy, can you transfer? My Social Security check was lost. I know it was here somewhere, but it's going. Because this is the ability for a member of Congress to participate in the most basic fundamental institution of their communities that they represent. We know that the Real Estate Association will tell you, if you're interested in home values, stop remodeling your bathroom and improve your school. Right. It'll mean more to you. Do people want to come and live in your community, or do they want to evade your community? What's the first question asked? What school district is this house in? Can it get more fundamental than that for a member of Congress? And then the idea, imagine picking up the paper when the statewide comparisons come out or the regional comparisons come out, and you're thumping along. I know where I go in some of my instances, I go like this. Because that's where some of the schools in my district are. They're at the bottom. That doesn't have to continue. And that's an optimistic message. It's an incredibly important result for our communities. For our communities. This is aspirational. This is about that community's children. And we all know when you see successful schools and successful communities, the attitude about the schools, about the staff, about the bond issues, about the tax rate is different than where you're just bumping along trying to survive. And technology is a way, with a game changer, even with a lot of other problems in the district, because you can dramatically change the total capacity of that district, from administrators, board members, to classroom teachers, to teachers' assistants, and to the students, and to their families. The conference I just left, the superintendent was there from Napa County. And they've got a program where they just say, how's the kindergarten program? So, oh, we're down in preschool. And they're engaging English learning families. And what's the trick to the engagement? To get them to participate at home as much as these young little kids participate at school. If they truly engage with them, they truly participate on a regular basis, the iPad gets to go home. And they get to use it for job search. They get to use it to communicate with their families elsewhere. They get to participate in that environment. And now, after several years, it's continuing to deliver the benefits for the students and for the school district. So this is a chance to give good news to members of Congress. And if you've noticed recently, we could use some. Anyone else? Yes?
I'm internationally involved in all kinds of traveling cities, and I
You just
don't know
run
if
from conference to conference?
yeah, well, like you. But it's if you see that there is an invasion, a labor invasion going on, because they know that the United States is falling behind. They need 25 million people in 20 years from now, and they're short. And Europe is 30 million, so that's the good news. But they make a labor invasion. That's why they do the investment. That's why that's what I hear on those congresses. They prepare because you fall behind. Is America aware of that?
Well, no, I don't think so, because we live on the myth that somehow, we talk a lot about, in this town, entitlements is a pejorative term. We live on the idea that we're entitled to be first. So it's just going to happen. We're going to be first. We're having a big debate on immigration. One of the big questions raised by the business community, if a really smart student comes from China or India or Norway or wherever they come, and they go to graduate school, one of our elite schools, they go to Texas in public health or Georgia Tech in engineering or Harvard, Princeton, yeah. If they do that, give them a green card and let them stay here. And that was a big prize. Today, those students, they get their PhD, and they have offers to match the offers here in China and India and Vietnam, working for Fortune 500 companies, working in national labs that are getting better and better and better according to our national lab people. They're accelerating all of the time. So we're going to, this is a changing dynamics internationally, and we need, the old saying, it's a terrible thing to waste the mind. We need every one of these children to be a full participant in our democracy. I mean, we're trying to run the most diverse democracy probably in the world. That takes a lot of knowledge to have the tolerance necessary. And we're trying to run a huge, diverse, dynamic economic system. And we're doing it in an ever more competitive world. What part of that message do not members of Congress or other people understand if, in fact, America is going to hold on to its preeminent position in the world? I think we do this. This is a fundamental, basic investment in infrastructure. The infrastructure is our schools, and the infrastructure are the minds of our children. And that's the winning policy. And that's what you have to sell. Thank you so very, very much.